Ask yourself this: in meeting someone for the first time, are you able to get a sense of their character? In a split second, our brain judges whether someone is a friend or an enemy, loyal, attractive, or neither. But can first impressions ever be correct? No one can really tell definitively if an individual's absolute character is shown during the first encounter. It can be due to emotional stress or anxiety, internal inhibitions, one's environment, or one's intrapersonal communication. However, we are human beings, prone to mistakes and imperfections. We cannot always remain calm and social when another requires it. According to Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov from the Department of Psychology, Princeton University, judgments made after 100 millisecond exposure correlated highly with judgments made in the absence of time constraints, suggesting that this exposure time was sufficient for participants to form an impression. In just a short amount of time, individuals are able to form an impression that may not be as reliable as they perceive. First, I will describe how the individual's instinctual response is to form a judgment of the other individual that may be inaccurate, and how this response may inhibit communication. Second, I will examine the factors that may lead to this judgment, such as emotional behavior, the environment, or one's internal inhibitions, and how this individual's perception of the other may also inhibit communication. In describing how the individual's instinctual response is to form a judgment of the other individual, first, we have to understand why this occurs and how it may impact communication between two people. To our dismay, the reflexive brain involuntarily spews mental computations, such as making judgments about people's race, sex, and religious affiliation. It can be a common response among society to form stereotypes, prejudices, or other inhibitions, and that is why one could say it is human nature to form judgments before the person is known enough to understand. As far as the general public, in order to reduce negative attitudes towards others, we have to reprogram our reflexive mind. It is programmed by habits we choose to propagate, experiences we embed ourselves in, and information we surround ourselves with. As a society, we have to learn how to be impartial to all, even though it is in our nature to form an assumption about another. We have to decide to further the connection between another, go beyond the boundaries of a first encounter, first conversation, or else our judgment of that individual will be final, and cease communication, all based on an unreliable first impression. But now let's examine the factors that may lead to this judgment, such as emotional behavior, the environment, or one's internal inhibitions, and how this individual's perception of the other may also inhibit communication. With communicating, there can be various factors that may contribute towards the individual's mindset. Research has found that people tend to overestimate personality and underestimate the situation when making attributions, especially with people they do not know well. First impressions may be inaccurate if there is lack of attention, distractions, differences in perception, false expectations and prejudices, or many other psychological barriers present in the individual to make them apprehensive about communicating. Not only can this lead to anger, but it can also lead to confusion, judgment, and then the individual is disinclined to converse again. In doing so, these factors play a pivotal role in preventing effective communication, allowing barriers to be put forth in the encounter of a conversation, all due to an unreliable first impression. In conclusion, the individual's instinctual response to form a judgment of the other individual, and the factors that can contribute, such as emotional behavior, the environment, or one's internal inhibitions, lead the individual's perception of the other to inhibit communication, even though it may be inaccurate. In just a short amount of time, individuals are able to form an impression that may not be as reliable as they perceive. Thus, when using the humanistic approach, make it a matter of importance to not give way to the flawed first impressions of humans. Make it a matter of importance to further communicate with the individual to then determine their true character, since that is the way communication will remain strong and honest.